This should sound good.
Right. Pull up patreon.com now.
You're listening to another Woodshop podcast, the okayest podcast of its type. Your hosts are Daniel Dunlap of Daniel Dunlap Woodworks and Peter Kapar of P-Trees Workshop. You can find them as well as the podcast on your favorite social media platforms.
Welcome to episode 165 of Another Woodshop podcast, where we teach you how to fail upwards in reverse. A podcast so specialized in failure that we decided to do a whole episode dedicated to that. Dan, what is up?
I feel like I've been failing upwards in reverse for the last year.
Yeah, it's like succeeding downwards, but in reverse of that.
Yeah,
exactly. Now, speaking of failing upwards, Dan, do you have some names to read off, or are we going to have to stall for 5 minutes?
No,
like
we don't have to stall. I'm a pro, dude. I'm a pro. I got this ready. Hold on, let me hit this button right here.
So good.
Right.
So ready.
Well, we don't have any new patrons this week, so nothing to read off there, but we do have some VIP patrons, and we have, according to my list, we got 17 of them, and they are as follows: Victor Aragema, Matthew Hoff of Matthews Woodworking, Nick Brim Woodworking, Matt Maynard of Patriotic Pines, Steve Iadarola, Daniel Bryson, Bill Burkle of WTB Woodworking, Malcolm over at Bossa Nova Woodworks. Fun fact, Malcolm is doing our intro these days.
The voice of AWP.
Justin at Calvary Customs, Christian Tung, Patrick Ginsel, Square Splinter, Michael Flickinger, Scotty Holland at Elevated Wood Design, Mike Lydon, Max and Mindy Coons at Stubby K Studio, and Jacob Miller at a Sweet Shop. Thank you, everybody. No matter what tier you are on, we appreciate all of you.
And we appreciate you guys so much that we are doing our first ever all patron Zoom call. We're going to be hopping on. It's called a happy hour, but we're going to go an hour 5, hour 10, 2 hours. We'll see. But we're going to be doing that, and we apologize. We had a little scheduling mishap. It was all Emma's fault.
Oh, there we go.
Completely Emma's fault. It's fine. It's been fixed. Emma, you look beautiful today. Did you do something different with your hair? I think you did. She doesn't actually listen to this, so this will get to her. If you're hearing this, I love you. Anyways, but Emma messed up.
I love you too, but you're fired.
Screwed up. She is now fired. The glitch has been fixed, so she's fired from AWP. She's
we moved her office, her cubicle to the basement, took away her red
storage
stapler.
Room B. So we apologize for the miscommunication on that, but we are going to be doing it next Sunday. The reason we're not doing it is, which I'll bring up later.
Next Sunday. So if you're listening to this on the Sunday it comes out, it'll be a week
30th.
After the 30th. Here we go.
July 30th, we're going to be doing it. The podcast, or the Zoom call info is already scheduled to go out. So when we start our live at 9 p.m. Eastern to 1 True Time next week on the 27th with Justin Davies, who's our guest, you will already have that email in your inbox if Patreon does their thing. So you'll have all the details for that call. Super excited to have you guys on. Please bring your favorite beverage or substance of choice, or just hang out with water.
I'll be there in boxers and a 4-pack of Chelada.
4-pack of Chelada, which is the only amount of Chelada a human should consume.
Fun fact, you can only get Cheladas in 4 packs of Tall Boys. Bud Light Chelada, anyway. I don't know.
Tall Boys are like the real like beer size. Come on, let's be real. Like, come on.
16 ounce, that's a pint, right?
Yeah, these little cans are too small.
Is that a true pint?
You go to Europe and all the beers in pint size are bigger. So
yeah, not these here in the 12 ounce bull hickeys.
Exactly. Whatever. Well, speaking of our intro there, we do have a topic this week, and a topic is dealing with failure, which we're going to get into. But before we get into dealing with failure, let's talk about our failures of a week we had. So Dan, what is on your bench? What have you been up to? And before you say that, hang on, I'm going into it. I'm leading into it. I'm definitely not stalling. But before you say that, I need to play this. You ready? Are you ready?
Yeah. What's on my bench?
So now say words. Go.
What's on my bench?
Dealing with failure.
I can't believe you literally tried to ask me what's on my bench without playing the music. How dare you?
I know. You know what? It's not a line.
You should know better.
I'll work on that.
We've been doing this 165 episodes now. Can't even believe you tried to pull
Let's count the bonus content. That's like 167, 169.
Let's go with 169. That's a nice round number.
Nice.
This week it's been Etsy orders galore.
Week?
Yeah, it's been a really busy week. I feel like a couple weeks ago, I think I was talking about how Etsy is slowed down, and it made me nervous, and I think it's really just kind of come back. It's all normal now. Everything is like popping like it should be. I'm doing 65 to 70 orders a week, which is great. It's about where I wanted to be as far as Etsy goes.
Very good. Very nice.
So yeah, I've been trying to keep up there. That also included a few of my side tables and stuff that I offer on there. It's not just ZCIs. I do offer furniture. So I've had to make a few side tables. I made one of my quote unquote DWW narrow tables, but the customer wanted it 12 inches wide instead of 8 inches.
You wanted it wide.
They wanted a DWW narrow / wide. So I don't know how to name that.
Double plus
I named it the narrow, and it's wider than normal. So anyways, I made one of those, and luckily they wanted it out of mahogany. And what I love about mahogany, when you go to the lumberyard, you can get really wide planks of mahogany. I got a 15-inch wide plank, and another great thing about mahogany is it will stay flat. It is so stable. I love mahogany. The more I work with it, the more I love it.
Pretty clear too, right? There's not a lot of knots.
It's super straight grain. I just really like it. I enjoy it. It tools well on the CNC. It smells good when you cut it. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite hardwoods to work with, even more so than like walnut.
Whoa, be cool, man. Be cool.
I know.
Know your audience, Dan. Know your audience. Come on.
Them's are like fighting words or whatever.
Them's like fighting words.
Man, I'm telling you, it's becoming one of my favorites. Also today, I banged out. Is that a phrase I can say?
It was banging. Yeah.
Banged out another side table / prototype thing. Just something that I had kicking around my head.
Prototype.
Yeah, I posted it on IG.
Make sure you post your price too.
Clearly, you don't follow me, otherwise you would have saw.
I do, but
what I was talking about.
Definitely didn't think that was a repost of a one you already did.
No, I whipped that out today, and I cut it and I put it together and I posted it today. So it's a pretty simple idea, but I had it like bouncing around in my head. Nope. That's the wide and narrow.
That's what I thought. So. That's the one I saw in your stories. Oh, you
talking
about this one?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's cute.
That one's different. Anyways,
like a manly way, cute and like.
Yeah, it's cute.
Nebraska cute.
It's handsome. You can say handsome.
That's a handsome table.
That's a handsome table. Anyway, what was I saying?
Like saying dude ranch. It doesn't make it any manlier.
The shop is an absolute disaster. I really need to.
I'm asking what's new, Dan. What's on the bench? What's new?
Well, I'm trying to
shop's a mess.
I'm trying to stretch this out into as much as possible. There's nothing new, so I wanted to talk about how my shop's a disaster, and I really need to take a day or two and just clean and organize. And it's really disturbing how quickly the place can look like a disaster. Of course, it's really all on me because I don't take time to clean when I stop at night and yada yada. But it's bad in there. It's so bad in there. I can barely walk around. Anyway,
I'm surprised, dude. That's the best time for me. Like that's when I start like having beers, relaxing. I'm just like cleaning up, putting stuff away, throwing stuff out. My favorite.
I'm gonna be honest. I have beers when I'm seeing because everything like
just don't say it out loud.
Well, everything that I cut, almost like 99% of the stuff that I cut, 99% of the stuff I cut, obviously the thing that I prototyped today aside, has all been like created. All I have to do is put in the piece and hit play. Like I've already created all those files, so it's not that difficult. So
I mess those up when I'm sober. I wouldn't trust myself.
I'm fairly good at it. So anyway, I think that's it for me. That's it.
Awesome. That's good.
No, wait, no. No.
There we go.
You can't go yet.
Let's
talk about what I did today, just before the podcast.
What did you give birth to today that is the best thing you've ever done in your life aside from your kids? Or maybe even actually rivaling them?
It's better than my kids. I'm going to say that. I'm going to come right out and say that.
They don't listen to this anyways. Who cares?
Look, I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I got a new pellet grill. I got a new Pit Boss pellet grill. You guys, I smoked a ribeye and then I reverse seared that thing tonight. It was a 20-ounce ribeye. It was the best thing I ever put in my mouth.
There were no survivors.
No survivors. I'm still like in complete disbelief of how good that was. I've cooked many a steak on my Weber kettle grill, good old charcoal and everything, but holy crap. It was so easy, so good.
Smokers are.
I may leave the podcast. I may leave the podcast early tonight just so I can go make another one. It was.
He won't.
It was so good.
Does not have the energy.
This is actually true. I've been having the meat sweats since we started. So.
And anyway, the best part of it was you live in the capital of steaks in Omaha Steaks. So like, where did you get your steak, Dan?
Not Omaha Steaks.
You didn't get it at Payless of Steaks? Where'd you get it? You got it at Marshall's?
There's a butcher shop down the street. I went there. It's actually in Iowa.
How far down the street? There you go.
It's actually in Iowa. I went to a butcher shop in Iowa, but it's like 10 minutes from my house.
It's not down the street, but okay.
It's literally down the street in Iowa, 10 minutes from my house.
With a bunch of turns that does not.
There's one turn. Literally one turn.
I need to see a map. All right, the map is going to be provided to our top tier patrons. Well, just so you guys can verify.
Maybe two, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. I'm really glad you're enjoying a smoker because like I legitimately.
And it's so fun.
I was like, oh, I get what the hype is about. And I love the idea of smoking with meat. Oh, sorry, with wood. But you know what? Pellet smoker is just so.
I went down a rabbit hole of like pellet smoker grills on TikTok last night.
Oh, dude.
Of like all these TikTok recipes. I have so many things saved. I can't wait. It's like I'm like a kid at Christmas. I'm gonna make all kinds of things. My next thing I'm gonna make is these mostaccioli shells.
You watch your mouth.
Stuffed with sausage and cream cheese and then wrapped in bacon and
what?
I can't wait.
All right, Dan. Here's what you're gonna do: take a pen or pencil or your phone, or just open up TikTok. I want you to look up Malcolm Reed. Malcolm Reed is who taught me, not in person, just through his videos when it was the poor quality and he was just doing them. However, he taught me how to smoke ribs and other meats on my I had the pill-shaped smoker.
How do you spell Reed?
Reed, R-E-E-D. The way you'd read a book. Oh, we're gonna get some hate mail. I love it. Grammar people like what? But yeah, Malcolm Reed taught me everything I know about smoking. That and Javon Chaney. He's taught me a lot about from his videos and stuff and just talking about him.
You know what? Javon Chaney has a podcast now with Mark Spagnuolo of the Wood Whisperer fame.
Wait, does he really?
Yeah, they do a barbecue podcast called
how do I find this out on my podcast and not from them?
It's called The Stall.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
So I need to listen to that.
Is it a podcast about how we look up patron names and look up the clips to play?
Oh,
the stall? Because we're stalling? No, okay.
No, like when you're smoking a pork butt or something and you reach that temperature where it just stalls and then, I
was not aware that's a thing. See, I haven't learned that much. Thanks, Malcolm Reed. Piece of crap. Can't believe you didn't learn everything from you. Okay, so the stall.
Yeah, Jevin and Mark, they do a podcast called The Stall, I think.
That actually really gets me excited because I love both of those people. Oh my God, following right now. I'm literally looking up right now. 7 episodes already?
Yeah, man.
Jeff,
I need to listen to it more.
I'm really upset with you for just finding this out. But are you done with your what's on a bench?
Oh yeah, you can go now. I'm done.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go completely off topic here. Jevin sent me a bunch of dry rub to make a nice bark for. I'm not even kidding. He sent me like his trial that she's trying to do a custom dry, not even a dry rub, but like a seasoning.
His own like
good bark.
Spices.
Yeah,
type stuff.
For pellet grills, especially because you tend to just get a different smoke than you do with wood, which I get. You know, there's nuances to each one. And it was, I forget I'm blanking on a name and I'm killing myself for blanking on a name, but it was something coffee related or cafe or something. And like the second I like tasted the seasoning, I'm like, there's coffee in this. I think there's coffee in this. I love it. So I'm super excited because I want to smoke some stuff in the coming week and get to sample it and give him some honest feedback. I'm really excited. So if he listens to this podcast, which I doubt it, this is terrible.
Be sure to put that podcast in the show notes, Pete.
Oh, I will. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guys deserve a shout out. And what's the other guy's name? Mark what?
Mark Spaghetti. Apparently he's a wood guy.
Mark Pescato?
Yeah.
Piscataway, New Jersey?
Prosciutto.
Mark Prosciutto.
Prosciutto.
Yeah, so Spags and Cheney. I love it. I love both of those people so much, and it makes me so happy. I don't get excited about non-woodworking or non-maker podcasts that often. I'm stoked for this. This better be good, guys. Like I'm hyping it up for myself. Anyways, so aside from that, I got that seasoning from Jevin, and I'm super stoked to try it out. Last week, we were actually at Friends on the Farm, which is a little maker meetup we do in just middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Someplace called
Pennsyltucky.
Pennsyltucky. I'm actually wearing a shirt right now. Friends on the Farm. That's from last year, though. So you know, we looked at llamas and we played with cats and chickens and we shot arrows very, very far. There's a couple of people there. There's another account there. It's three of them. They're Art of Craftsmanship, and they have a YouTube channel, and they do a lot of like bladesmithing and some woodworking, and they make their own old school like bows. They just, you know, like solid wood bows. So they're really cool. We
Robin Hood-ish.
Yeah, Robin Hood-ish. So like no compound bow. They can't make that yet, I guess. Whatever.
What is that? What is that called? A longbow?
It's a longbow, I guess. Yeah. And these bows are super cool. We're all doing like a little contest to shoot them as far as possible and hit the target and whatever. And I'm shooting with my compound bow next to them. And because the draw weight is so heavy, I'm like going through the target and it's plywood. I'm like, all right, let me try the other one. I got close. Not that close. Close enough, but it was super fun. It did rain most of the weekend, but that being said, it was still a great weekend. It was still fun to just go and camp, spend the night. It's just fun, you know, like even when it's like raining, like you're still camping. It's a different vibe, and you sleep in there, and you know. That
reminds me, I also went camping.
You went camping, that's right. Yeah, you were in like a nice RV with solid walls.
Yeah, camping, quote unquote.
The other thing was like, so because it was raining on and off throughout the night, there's just a lot of sounds around the tent. And I remember waking up 4:45 in the morning, because I remember looking at my phone and I just hear sounds. Like you hear things rustling around next to me, moving around. I know there's some animals around, but I'm like, there's no animals in that direction. But like, I'm telling myself rationally, like, we're fine. We're just in a tent. When's there ever been an issue with that? But like, my heart's beating and my brain's racing. I'm like, damn it, I'm just trying to get some sleep, man. So then around like 6 o'clock when the sun came up, it was all quiet again, and I finally fell asleep again. But sometimes camping, when you're camping in a tent, I don't care how many times you've done it, sometimes you just get in your own head. It's a little annoying, but yeah. Camping was fun. It was a great trip. We did a long trip. Randy Bovandy was there, our buddy Carmine.
Randy Bovandy.
Exactly. So got to try that out. Aside from that, I redid my print shop. So we tore out a couple of things out of the print shop. I redid a whole section and put in this old IKEA cabinet that's built out of the most dense like particle board ever. This thing is the whole shelf is probably 150 pounds, because like this is back before IKEA like really tried to like dial down like with the cardboard insides or whatever.
Back when IKEA was cool.
Back when I was your age, like this was bought in probably like 2001 or 2002, you know, so it was like pre-recession IKEA, good stuff. So anyways, I put this shelf, it's like it's like the third house that it's been in, and I was just trying to save it from the landfill. And I was like, oh, you know what? It's actually perfect for this one wall. It fits my filament rolls perfect, so I put it up on that wall, and then I built a bunch of like desks around, and it's really nice. It's got a lot more space. I'm trying to just like.
Have you ever thought about repurposing it? Did you say it was particle board?
It was, yeah.
Okay. Hear me out.
But here's the thing: the veneer on it is wood, and it's really nice.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Ingrained particle board, cutting board.
I'll do it. Ingrained MDF too. Let's go. Just
piss off the
particle
entire
board,
internet.
MDF, OSB, diamond pattern, ingrained cutting board.
But like, cover it in like the epoxy that is super non-viscous. What is the word I'm looking for? Penetrating epoxy.
Okay, I was like, what are you getting at?
Penetrating epoxy.
Just really
soaks it in. Penetrating epoxy. That way, it just like it really solidifies.
Just solid, like a 300-pound cutting board.
Yeah.
solid.
Put it in the woodworking subreddit. You would get death threats. You would get death threats galore.
But with the print shop getting reset up, it's nice that we got a lot more space down there. I'm trying to really not have to blow out a wall and expand it into the rest of the basement. So I'm just trying to repurpose that space as much as I can. And it's actually working out because Emma and I are spending a lot more time in that room. So it's nice to have extra room to like actually be able to walk past each other. Aside from that, speaking of Emma, we knocked out a couple of custom jobs on a laser. She's getting a little more comfortable with it. We're actually having her learn a little bit of light burn. And I need to move one of my licenses off of the computer I'm recording on because I don't really make designs on this one, and move it onto her laptop so that she can actually practice. Because light burn, especially now that I've actually learned how to modify nodes, it's really powerful. You can really do some cool stuff in there. So much excited about that. And aside from that, just doing a bunch of house chores and patched my driveway because I've got a bunch of cracks in it, and I'm really trying to not spend money on a new driveway. My neighbor just had one done. It was $8,000.
Yeah, that's not cheap.
Yeah. Also,
and you got a long driveway.
Yeah, it's super exciting. We are getting fiber in our neighborhood.
Hey, so am I. One of these days.
They put the flags out today for like the cables in the ground so that they don't hit them. I'm super excited because we're actually going to get some like really high speed internet.
Don't get too excited just yet because they did that in my neighborhood 2 months ago, and I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
Well, I'm hoping.
All the wires and everything are there. I'm just waiting for them to offer it.
Yeah, they were like
first in line,
coming by house to house to actually like be like, "Hey, are you down?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "All right, cool. We'll put you on a list." So like, they needed to get to half the neighborhood because we're in like a loop or whatever.
Yeah,
and we got half. So they actually within like a month of them coming around, they're actually putting it in the ground. So I was like, very excited. So
well, fingers crossed for you, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm still waiting over here.
Still waiting. So much excited, especially for uploading the podcast video. It's like an hour 45 video sometimes. That takes like an hour to upload at times.
Yeah, it would be nice for that.
Regular internet I have. But that's been my week.
And the internet corn.
Internet corn, exactly. So that's been my week. Just a lot of little projects and things happening.
I forgot to mention a little thing that I did.
Oh, please.
This past Monday. So everybody has been on my case about doing the sleep apnea sleep study.
Yes.
I did an at-home sleep study way back in, I want to say March or April. And I've been waiting a little bit too patiently, one would say, for results.
Didn't care. Whatever.
I mean, I cared, but it was like, it wasn't a priority for me or whatever. So I finally started calling the doctor and the nurse like last week or the week before. And they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, that at-home sleep study you did, it's not sufficient. You're going to need to stay overnight at the hospital."
And we didn't get enough results from it. I think it cut out. It showed you only took 17 breaths the whole night.
They said, according to that, you have severe sleep apnea and you need to come in and do an overnight stay in the hospital. So that's what I did this past Monday. They told me I'd be in a suite. Man, I'll tell you what, they use that term suite loosely. That looked like a murder room.
Suite with 3 E's.
Oh my God. But anyways, I stayed there. I felt, so do you know how like in the movie The Matrix when Keanu Reeves finally awakens from the actual real world, and he like comes awake from that pod, and he's got all those wires and things attached to the back of his head. That's how I felt trying to sleep during this thing. So anyway, I did it, and fingers crossed that everything will come back, and I'll be on my way to a better night's sleep and a better quality of life here pretty soon.
I hope so.
We'll see.
I don't want to hear you almost die every night.
Everybody that has stayed with me at like Workbench Con or Makers Camp or whatever, they've all said that, hey,
imagine
Dan, you should probably go see a doctor.
But it's your whole life.
Yeah, exactly. I have 100 close calls a night.
No, but anyway. I'm really glad you get
I'm actually excited. I'm not
games, but
I'm not real excited about having to wear like stuff when I sleep, but I'm going to be honest. I'm exhausted throughout the day, and I always just like put it off as like, oh, you're getting older. I'm 40. I'll be 45 this year. I shouldn't be as tired as I am.
You're going to feel like you're going to be 44 and a half every day. It's going to be awesome.
I can't wait. I so remember that when I was 44 and a half. It was like 2 months ago. Yeah, I'm excited.
I think listen, it has the potential to kind of like snowball. I was gonna say beach ball, but snowball on you. But
beach ball works. I like that.
Yeah, beach ball is floating. But you're gonna sleep better. You're gonna have more energy, and then you might actually find yourself doing more projects and like being a little more active and stuff.
So, it kind of helps. He says that as I yawn. I kind of hope so.
This is
I run out of steam really easy, and also full transparency.
Oh, here we go.
I haven't slept in the same bed as my wife in over 10 years, so it would be nice to do that again.
Purely due to snoring.
Purely due to snoring. My wife has an actual job that she has to go to.
Yeah, she's like wake up in the morning and be functional.
My job is very loose. I work for myself, so I can do whatever I want, and so I've always respected her.
Remember to feed Max. Remember to feed kids.
Yep.
Go to bed.
That's basically it.
That's basically it.
Anyway, that's enough about me and my sleep woes.
Well, that's great. Last thing I guess it's on my bench for this weekend is we got invited to the boat build off in Rhode Island. Dan's invite got lost in the no one asked him.
As it always does.
As it always does.
So weird.
But it's just a distance thing.
Yo,
we're super close.
Kristen and Mike, if you're listening to this,
we're only
thank you.
Listen, we're right around the corner. We're only 4.5 hours away from Rhode Island.
I'm only a 2-hour flight.
You guys know my feeling on Rhode Island, but I love Total Bets, so we're going. I also don't even remember how the whole hate Rhode Island thing started.
John Cesaro.
You're right.
Started it. John from Lincoln Street Woodworks started it.
So we got invited to just like the last day when they're doing a race, the regatta, if you will. And we're stoked to go. So we're going to go Saturday night. We're staying in an Airbnb, and then we're going to head back Sunday night before work on Monday.
Speaking of the regatta and an Airbnb, my friend.
Yes.
About
the thing.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the thing.
Yeah, sorry.
Speaking of the regatta and the Airbnb, we booked our Airbnb for Maker Camp, and we will absolutely be there through closing ceremonies at Maker Camp. I cannot wait.
These are facts.
I know it's late summer and Maker Camp happens in October, but gosh darn it,
Dan, we're
getting
late.
bombarded by like Maker Camp things, and I am just getting so pumped.
We really should have done this like 3 months ago. We just kind of been dragging our feet.
Yeah, but it's done now, and we don't have to worry about it.
Done.
And Dan's gonna have a CPAP, so you won't hear me snore throughout the house. Should be good. Should be a good time.
Pretend to be Darth Vader while he's hammered. Peter, I'm your father.
It'll be a repeat of last year where I'm just like shoving prosciutto
in your face,
down my gullet. That's a fun video.
Dan. That's a thing.
Who has that? Does Coffee have that video? I think Coffee
might
has
have that video. I have to look it up. I probably have that video. It's pretty good. Well, you know what? If it's good enough, maybe we'll post it.
Yeah, a little throwback action to last year's
Dan, all
Maker
excited
Camp.
for Maker Camp next year.
I can't imagine why I don't get invited to these special things. Anyway.
Special things. Well, listen. So, all right, let's talk about, before we get into our questions, we kind of threw a topic at the wall and we're like dealing with failure, and everyone is perfect. So nobody called in. We had like 2 questions, or not even questions, a question and a call-in comment. But as two guys that feel fairly qualified to talk about failing upwards, quite literally
I feel
failing
like I'm
upwards.
mega qualified to talk about failures. I don't know about upwards.
You know what? Here's the thing. And the reason I wanted to bring up this topic and the reason I brought it up to Dan, it really resonates with us, is because there's all this like, I don't know, the whole hustle culture thing kind of blew up, especially over COVID, and everyone seems to be succeeding and killing it and going on all these vacations and working remotely from Bali and, you know, having multi-million-dollar drop shipping businesses and like all this stuff. And you just feel like you're not doing as well. So we figured, let's talk about that stuff. Let's talk about like actually running a side business and
or a full-time business if you were.
Yeah, or full-time business.
This isn't my side business. I do this full-time.
And like, you know, sometimes it feels like you're just failing upwards, even though you're doing this full-time. So, I mean, let's start. Well, I just have some questions for us to answer to everyone. But like, Dan, can you think about the biggest failure you've dealt with in recent years? Like the biggest, like you're like,
in recent years?
In recent years. You don't have to be,
I think the biggest
in all of your career, because you've been doing this longer than I have.
Well, I think I hinted in all of my quote unquote career. I think I hinted at that last week when we had Chris on, and I talked about how I dropped out of high school.
What?
I talked about that.
I know you do.
I don't really like to talk about it because
no one here is gonna make you feel bad about that.
No, I don't. It
We're
just
all about the trades.
I'm not proud of it, and I don't feel like it defines me, so I don't try to bring it up. But I made mistakes.
Dan.
I made mistakes when I was younger. I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger, and unfortunately, I didn't have the people on my side to push me in a way that I deserve to be pushed. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say it without saying it. Anyways,
wait, do you I'm sorry. This is a genuine I'm genuinely interrupting here, but like you feel like one of your biggest failures is not graduating high school?
Absolutely.
Dan,
I regret it.
I'm saying
No. I regret it. But you know what? If I could go back and change things, I wouldn't change that because I really like where I'm at currently. And if I change that in my past, I feel like that would change where I'm at now. So it's really a weird position to be in. I'm not super proud of it. I don't like to talk about it, but I wouldn't change it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I kind of, the reason I was so shocked about it is because all of those moments have brought you to that.
Exactly. Yeah, all those little failure type moments, if you compound them, I'm at where I'm at today and I wouldn't change a thing.
I genuinely would not change that about you because like that brought you to this podcast and here right now.
I wouldn't change a thing.
Actually,
but I'm not proud of it. And it bothers me that happened, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You just got to move on.
See, I didn't even think of that, but like that's a good topic that like I didn't even like think to put in my comments or questions, which is every failure you and I have made have
it's an
brought
opportunity
us to where
to
we
get
are.
Better. Yeah.
Even if it's not an opportunity to get better, it's something that derailed you from a different path to put you on the path you are on today. And like that's actually a great point. I didn't even think to make, which is every mistake you've made has led you to this day, which could be also a terrible thing for you. I don't know. Maybe this is the worst thing. Maybe this is the dark timeline. This is this is the bad one. We got go-tos and stuff.
If this is the dark timeline, holy moly! No, I love the timeline I'm on.
Warren Buffett is your chauffeur in another one.
I'm not rich. I'm not lavish, but you know what? I'm comfortable and I'm happy and I've married an amazing woman and we have 2 amazing kids and I have a business and I work for myself and I wouldn't change a thing. So even though I have some failures, those failures have turned into a win in my mind. That's all I'm trying to say.
Wow.
And I have rectified that situation. I didn't just leave it be. I went and got a GED and I did take some college courses, but shocker, I quit college as well. But that's a whole nother long story. But it's one of the things that like it bothers me. And my kids know about it, and I've let them know about it. I don't hide anything from my children. And I just want to let them know that, I've made that mistake, and you're not going to make that mistake, and I'm going to help you not make that mistake. So.
Wow, Dan.
Mistakes are a learning opportunity,
that's
right?
remarkably deep. Whether you think so or not, that's actually really, really good. And here's the thing. The reason why I brought up this topic is to just show everyone that's listening to this that, like, hey guys, it's okay. Like, no matter how successful you are, or if you're failing every single day, like, we all fail.
We all fail. If you say you don't fail, you're a liar.
Yeah.
You're an absolute liar.
Yeah.
I hate to be so harsh, but
I have never failed in my life.
Here we go.
Here we go. So I wrote this question, and I genuinely had trouble answering it because I've had so many failures in my life. And if we're talking about business-wise, like, I want to list several. It's like not taking my business seriously in the beginning, and not taking myself and my level of work and my OCD seriously, where, like, compared to other people's work was like years beyond what they were doing, because, like, you think, oh, this isn't good enough, it's just whatever furniture, like cheapo furniture. But, like, no, in reality, like, you're doing good work because you care, But I think one of my biggest failures was trying to fall into what I perceived to be the end goal in this entire thing because of Instagram and the friends I had. And I'm not blaming anyone or the platform or whatever, but I thought I had to be a woodworker, furniture maker to be successful on Instagram, because there was Instagram and there was woodworking Instagram. You made furniture, or you were a nobody that just made boring content in your shop, or you made furniture, cool stuff, really artistic stuff, really taught people stuff. And I couldn't distinguish that at the time from what I was doing, which was just making content, making things around my shop improvements. And I knew my core audience was like other guys in shops, whether it was people doing it full-time, part-time, or just weekend warriors, or people that just enjoyed shop projects or our content. I thought I was not doing my full potential because I wasn't making furniture every day. And I made myself feel bad every day about it.
I guarantee you that there are other people watching your content that feel the same exact way. And why? Because you are comparing your life, what happens to you every day, to other people's highlight reels that you see on Instagram and social media.
Which is literally my
You cannot do that. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
It will bring you down.
Dude, I totally relate. And that's something we're gonna touch on in depth with the whole Instagram reality thing. But my biggest failure is basically just like trying to live up to something that I don't actually want to do, but I thought I wanted to do. And this could be, based on Instagram. This could be based on like family values. Like your dad wants you to be a doctor. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a doctor. But like, no, I want to be a foot model. Like whatever, like, you want to just follow your dreams, and that's fine. So that's my biggest failure that I've ever dealt with. And it might not seem like a crazy thing, but like it's something that I think has set me back at least 3 years in my business by not leaning into the thing that I enjoy, but like downplaying it, thinking that I have to do this other thing. So don't just do what you enjoy, and the money will come. Like you'll figure it out. That's one thing I'll give you guys as advice. But then my next question is, what is it something, because I am super guilty of this, and I can actually take this one first. What's something that you fail at constantly and are still working on? And
bro, I just hinted at this at what's on my bench. The thing I fail at constantly is cleaning up after myself and maintaining a clean shop. It's like impossible for me. I don't know what the hell I'm doing wrong. Although I do know what it is I'm doing wrong. I'm not picking up after myself, but like it gets out of hand so fast.
Just because you're aware of what's wrong doesn't mean you have the tools you need to make it right.
Thank you for making me feel a little better about the situation. But, if the shop was clean, it it suffices to say that it would be a more productive shop. However, there's a little psychology in there too. Like, I feel like if you're working in a clean shop, you are a bit more motivated. Have you ever noticed that? Like, when your shop is clean, you're more motivated to get things done. And man, if I could just clean my shop, I need. Is Marie Kondo still a thing? Like the cleaning lady on Netflix?
Still a vibe. You want to be clean.
I need somebody like that in my shop. I really do. It needs so much help. It doesn't need just like a cleaning. It needs.
I need to come over there for a weekend. I need to throw things out.
Organization, rehab type of situation. I don't feel like it flows well. Man, it needs so much help, and I feel like that's where I fail constantly, and I can't rectify the situation. What about you?
Oh man, that's something that I also fail at. I make my shop very messy, but one of the things I enjoy the most is like crack open a beer and just like clean the shop, whether it's at night or honestly like if I gotta work. I occasionally, very seldom though. Yeah.
I thought you were a better person.
Bad for my thighs. So like I do actually love just like having a beer and like cleaning up the shop and like putting stuff away. And then also I've started being very surgical and mechanical with my decisions. I don't even know what the right term is, but like I try not to get too attached to things where I'm like, oh, this packet of like drywall anchors that came with that thing.
Yes.
Yeet, trash. This piece of wood that like has potential, especially with laser. Anytime I laser stuff and there's like, if there's a 2-inch by 2-inch square or whatever of free space on there, like I could cut a medallion. No, you can't, stupid. Put it in a trash.
When are you actually going to do that? When are you actually going to do that?
It got out of hand when I realized I had sheets, like dozens, plural, sheets of just like pre-cut stuff. And I laid it on my laser one time and I was like, use every piece of the buffalo or whatever. Like, and it was like a bunch of sheets. And I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of potential in these. No, there isn't.
I run into that problem with like, I run into that problem with like hardwood scraps. I tried to save everything that's over 1.5 inches wide so that I could quote unquote turn it into a cutting board someday. But I never do. There are a few guys locally, Nick Brim, Braden from Little Bug, that I'll call and say, hey, I got all this stuff. Either come get it or I'm going to burn it.
Dude, I so relate to that because Keith drops off his scraps to me and I'm like, oh, this 2 by 2.5 inch piece of walnut that's 4 inches long or whatever. It's perfect. Or like longer than that.
Yeah. And that mindset worked a couple years ago when I wasn't doing these heavy Etsy orders. When you're doing a
one-off, like
when I'm doing one-off things, mindset worked perfectly. I could just throw together a cutting board lackadaisically. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, I know what you're saying. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, the word.
I could just throw a cutting board together, but now I can't do it. I replenish those scraps in the next 3 or 4 days.
Potential.
Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
And listen, what I've started doing is I keep 1 5-gallon. I know exactly the word you were saying, and it might be correct, but your hesitation made me rethink my confidence in it.
I'm gonna look that word up here in a little bit.
So you know what, Dan kind of pointed out another thing I fail like constantly, which is hoarding stuff. Like I love hoarding wood. It makes me happy.
I mean, it's so expensive. It kind of makes sense, right? Because
I still have the poor guy's mindset. Like I grew up fairly poor. Like you can use it. You can use that for something. So you try to hold on to it.
That's why I don't waste food. I eat everything on my plate. Yeah, I got the poor man's mindset.
Now I started
getting a belly over here.
It's dense like a mahogany tree.
Mahogany's not really that dense though when you think about it. It's pretty light.
You're like an oak.
There we go.
Open
like
grain.
An old oak.
Dan's like oak, open grain. If there's one thing that I would say like I fail at constantly is I take on way too many projects. Like imagine this is like a crappy job interview. It's like, what's your biggest weakness? My biggest weakness is taking on too much work. Like, and it seems like a cheesy answer, but like
my biggest weakness is having to sit here and answer your stupid questions. What I'd like to say.
Like no, but realistically, like I take on way too much. Anytime somebody's like, hey, this would be a cool project, can you make one of these? I'm like, yeah, add to to-do list that's 300 items deep. And like
See you in
there.
2027.
It's on my to-do list. But like, yeah, I take on, because I'm like, that's a neat project. And sometimes it's just like, but this is a person from the community I know and love, so I want to do it. So that's really difficult for me. So I take
that
on
reminds
a lot
me.
of
That
projects.
reminds me. I have no less than 5, maybe 6 inserts from people sent me that I haven't made yet.
It's a lot of work.
Man, I'm pretty sure I've had them sitting on my desk for 3-4 months. I know Malcolm, as a matter of fact, Malcolm sent me one of his several weeks ago, if not a month ago. And it's something I need to get to. It's like, I just don't have time. I don't have time to add new things onto the things that I'm already doing because I'm struggling to keep up with what I'm doing currently. Yeah. Although it would be good for business to do those things and add them to my store. Like, I think Malcolm sent me an insert from his Delta table saw. That's a very popular table saw, that Delta 36725. But I haven't had time to do it. And it would literally take 30 minutes from my day, but I haven't had time, says the guy who sat down and made a prototype side table. It's tough.
Oh, wait, no. So we're going to touch on that.
Okay, yeah.
Dan, instead of doing the important thing on your to-do list, you did a fun project.
You got to do that sometimes. Otherwise, you'll go insane.
That's something I fail at constantly, ignoring the important tasks to do a fun project. Sometimes it's stuff that's just been,
you got to stretch your creativity a little bit.
You got to have fun, because if you're not having fun in any of this, here's the thing: if you're in a position in your business where you can't have fun, you're kind of losing the game.
Yeah,
you're gonna lose the vibe, the feeling. You know, it's like you want to have at least one day a week where you can just be like, "Yo, I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna clean my shop. I'm gonna work on that fun project. I'm gonna build a side table."
Right.
Like, that's a thing, guys. That's something we fail at, and we're like, "Oh, I'm ignoring my to-do list, but I'm working on this thing that's kind of important, but I'm also enjoying it." Like, guys, joy.
I enjoy the process of coming up with new things.
And I
realize, like, a ZCI, making a ZCI insert is quote unquote coming up with a new thing, but it's like,
it's profitable.
It's the psychology is so different. I feel like the ZCI things are, I have to do it. People are like making me do it, even though they're not.
It feels like work.
It feels like work, and the other thing feels like it's still my hobby. So that's
I'm effing around in a shop.
Yeah. So it's a weird psychological thing. And if you're one of those people that sent me an insert and you're still waiting, thank you, and I appreciate your patience. Just hang tight, or just send me a gentle reminder,
a nudge. I say this all the time. Nudge. Someone literally I did a repost, or Emma did a repost because she does this for me now, of like the flip top cart, and 2 people hit me up like, "Hey, you got those plans?" And I was like, "You know what? This is the kick in the butt that I needed. Hit me up on Monday if I haven't sent you anything yet. Like, nudge me, because I need it. I need that motivation." You know, it's hard because, like, you just want to have fun. Girls just
sometimes you need a little nudge from
your
customers or the community or whatever. Yeah.
This is so good, Dan. We're also the perfect people for this, because like we're both like motivated, we're successful in a certain part of our business. I'm not trying to flex here, but like we're successful.
I'm comfortable. I don't like to say successful.
Well, we're comfortable, you know, but we're doing what we set out to do. But at the same time, we're both like ignoring half of the duties we should be doing.
I still got that farmhouse table on my bench.
Still got that laser.
Yeah, I have that laser that Onefinity sent me
year plus ago.
Onefinity sent me that JTech 7-watt laser during that whole oil fiasco. How long was that?
That was 2017, Dan.
No, come on. No, my memory isn't that bad. I feel like it might have been 2021. It's been a while. It was the summer of 2021. I remember it fondly.
It was the summer of 2021.
Thank you, Peter Adams.
Well, all right. So, Dan, now what about this? What's something you failed at that now looking back, you're really happy about?
That stupid white oak door. I'm so, you know what?
Legit,
you know what? That was
you dodged a bullet with that one.
that was a potentially lucrative project for me. And I was excited about it. And you would think that a door would be super simple, right? It's just a tabletop with a couple hinges and a door handle on it. But man, I had problems with that damn thing at every stinking turn. I had to, I put it together and I took it to be flattened, and it got flattened, and it became too thin, and I needed to add wood back to it. And then it cupped because I added wood to it. And I stewed on that for like months and months, because I was like, oh my God, this is so expensive. What am I going to do? And then I finally just decided, you know what? I'm just going to rip it up and start over. And I started over and I remade it. And apparently it was a 1/4 inch too thin for the client. It was still an 1 3/4 inch front entry door. They wanted exactly 2 inches. 1 3/4 inch is still plenty thick. Their architect is a prick. Anyway, long story short, I failed at that, and I had to, say, hey, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't make you happy. And
He's abbreviating.
We're just
profanity.
We're just cutting ties, and we're going to go our separate ways. And that sucked. But you know what? I'm glad that it happened, because not only did I learn things, but I feel like that would have just been headaches compounded by headaches over and over, and it's out of my life now, and I don't have to worry about it.
Solid answer.
What about you? And it still frustrates the hell out of me.
Oh no,
I botched a door.
Was like semi-recent to me. It wasn't the door. It was, first of all, it was a massive door. Needed add-ons. Like if you can't do it in the first shot, you're kind of screwed. And it's so big that you had to get it CNC'd, right, to like get it flattened and all that stuff. So
it was
sander. Yeah, it was a lot of work. That wasn't just like, glue up a tabletop. No. You had to like.
That's what I thought in the beginning, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was more than that. I had to make the door jamb out of solid white oak, and I had to make a transom.
It escalated downwards.
Yeah. It was more than just the door. It was a whole lot of things, but I kept the story short and sweet, and like Pete said, less profanity.
Yeah, way less. So for me, like the thing I failed at, and I'm really happy looking back that like I failed at this, but I was devastated and beating myself up and super stressed out at the time, was friends and family projects. I had so many friends, like this is, we're talking 2019, year prior to COVID. Like I had a lot of friends and family inquiries and whatever. And that's back when it was like, it's like $100. Yeah, that like $300, it's like throwing out numbers like this seems fine, but I don't want to overcharge them. Like before you know how to price stuff. Yeah, it's my friend. I want to make sure they still like me at the end. I'm so glad I failed at that, because that was a death trap. I send quotes to friends and family now where they're insulted by the number. And I'm like, you can't afford me. I'm not a furniture maker full time, but it doesn't matter. I know my stuff, and I am charging you my time. And my time is way more valuable than a just guy in a shop. But no offense to anyone in their shop knocking out furniture for their friends and family, but like you really have to know your value. And like there's something
Absolutely.
Like we talk about this too, like it's totally okay to do all these projects and like not really like run it like a business. Like there's nothing wrong with doing this as a hobby, and you just make just enough to buy more material for the next thing. That's totally fine, guys. That's another thing that people will make it feel like it's a failure. You're not making $10,000 a year with cutting boards. That's crazy. Like, no, it's fine. You can do that.
As long as you keep your head above water and you're happy.
Your hobby pays for, and you know what? You could take a loss if your job pays for all of it. Who the heck cares? That's another thing that people make you feel bad about. But the thing was, like, I was trying to treat it almost like a business before I knew what a real business was. And like, I was failing. My hourly rate was $5 an hour, if that. It would take me like 20 hours to do a project, and at the end of the day, I charged like $300. Like it was like nothing, you know? So keep that in mind. And I failed at that. I failed miserably at that. I wasn't keeping track of my money.
Tough.
Whatever.
That's a tough thing to do.
I was trying
especially
to,
when you're just getting started,
people.
quote unquote.
Yeah, I was a people pleaser. That's the biggest problem. I was trying to please older people in my life with low prices and good and cool projects. And I was like, oh, make it up in content. I wasn't making anything back then. What are you doing, dummy?
I was fortunate enough to learn that lesson back when I started photography in 2009. I learned then, and it took me some time, so I didn't just learn it right away, but you know, it was at that time I was starting to build my portfolio and starting to shoot weddings, and I had a lot of quote unquote friends come up to me and say, "Hey, will you shoot my wedding? Will you take my photographs for my baby? Will you do this or that?" And after a while, it became pretty like easy to say yes or no, because I would ask myself, would I have gotten an invite to this wedding otherwise? And if the answer is no, then you don't get it for free. You're paying full price. But if you're family, I will give it to you for free if I know I'm gonna like be attending this thing.
Get dinner. There's one thing about Daniel Dunlap.
There's no gray area, basically, is what I'm saying. You either pay full price or you get it for free and you do it my way. And there's no questions asked. That's the pricing for friends and family. And luckily, like I said, I learned that early on in my photography career, and I kind of like rolled that into the woodworking. So it was pretty easy. Once you get over that mentality of, gosh, I don't want to upset my friends or family, you know, it becomes pretty easy. But that's a tough hill to cross in the beginning, for sure.
Yeah, it's very hard, especially if you're someone that's trying to please people.
Yeah,
a people pleaser. You want everyone to like you. It's hard to quote them hard prices.
That, and you don't want to fail at your business, your soon to be business. So you want to please everybody, and you want to get all the quote unquote business that you can. And it's just it's a really tough place to be in, and I get it. I get it.
Yeah, it's tough. Good answers all around. And what I want to end with was something that we touched on in the beginning was failure. You know, here's the thing. The last topic is, Dan, you and I, we failed as a successful small business and as content creators if we're purely going off of our TikTok feed or Instagram feed, especially TikTok. It's like,
I fail at TikTok and Instagram daily.
Wow, guys, and holds up a stack of labels. I sold 400 of my item from TikTok shop this month.
I've seen those on TikTok.
I had a $10,000 week this week because of this product, because thank you guys, you've been great. And we see all these like success stories, and you're just like, and Dan,
just last week we just had Chris on last week, and he kind of made me feel like a little bit of a failure too. Oh, I love Chris Burton from A Glimpse Inside, don't get me wrong, but he made me feel like a little bit of a failure because he's like, I had a $30,000 a month, and I was like, oh god.
Love Chris. He's a perfect example, and again, no ill will. I love the dude. He taught me so much. He helps me out all the time.
But when you're comparing yourself to other people, you know, that's bound to happen, like, right?
Oh, that really 30,000? Like, I'm a freaking failure, and damn purported bleep, but like, you know, fuck this guy. Like, I could do that better, and I could do it with blackjack and hookers and whatever. Like, you know, the quote Futurama here. But like, you get into this, like, your primal brain gets into this mode of like, really? Like, I'm like happy for them, but also F that guy. Like, how is it that they're doing so successfully? Like, I could totally do that. I have this issue, like, and again, not calling out anyone in any negative way, but like, designs by Donnie. Love the dude. The dude is killing it. Every single like other day, I see a new.
He's killing it as far as you know.
Well, yeah,
you're seeing his highlight reel.
But I see his stuff. He's constantly putting out new things, and they're all linked to the Etsy, or not the Etsy shop, the Instagram shop, which is linked to his website. And I'm just like, this guy's so put together. man, F this guy. He's doing so well, but also like I really like his work and I envy him. But like F that guy. Like your brain goes through all these moods of like you just get angry and happy all at the same time. And like it, and again, nothing negative about any of these people, but like when you see other people succeed, your brain tends to go into fight or flight mode of like, I'm like, really, I could do that too, whatever. Like, even if
Why
you're
not
not
me?
Why not me? Like, I could do that too. I could do it better. Why is no one buying my version of that thing? It's hard. And
Do
if
you
there's
have
one
Donnie's
thing,
abs, first of all?
yeah, Donnie's abs, which is a
Don't.
whole different category, man, a whole different subreddit or whatever you want to call it. But if there's one thing I want you guys to take away from this whole dealing with failure thing is like, there's always someone that, and I stress this, that seems to be doing better than you. Whether they are or they're not. If Dan has, like, listen, I struggle with this with my best friend, Daniel Dunlap. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but like Daniel Dunlap had 60 plus sales this week. I haven't had 60 sales this month. So, you know, just kind of like, look at that. Like, and I used to be the hotshot Etsy daddy over here. And like Dan is crushing me, like he's miles ahead of me. Now, granted, I'm a lot closer to Dan, so like I can relate. I know his ups and downs. I know his stuff he deals with, and I know what his business means to him because it's literally his one income. To me, I'm like relying, falling back on my job.
Which is
well,
nice.
Still, but you're like, it's not like you have like a second gig.
No, I myself don't have a second gig. Yeah. This is it.
So I really want to stress that is like, don't let the Instagram reality, as we call it, or TikTok reality, stress out. Because what Dan said, Dan, what'd you say about the?
Don't compare your life to somebody else's highlight reel.
Highlight reel. That's the perfect way.
That's exactly what you're seeing on Instagram or any social media outlet is somebody's highlight reel.
Exactly. And I want you guys to all
not posting their lows; they're posting their highlights.
And that's why I asked the questions I asked in that order. It's like, what's the biggest thing that you like failed at that like really just crippled you about something? And like, what's something you fail at constantly? Because we all do something that at the end of the day we go, I should have done that. I did this thing wrong, or I failed at that, whatever. And then what's something you fail at that you're happy about? Like there's failures that we have in our life that are like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't get that job. That would have sucked, you know? So like there's different levels of failure that can guide you along the way to being a better person. And also every failure you've had, and Dan touched on this, and I didn't think of it, every failure you've had has led you right here listening to this podcast. So clearly you effed up.
Failures are not the end. They're just a bump in the road, and it all depends on if you decide to turn that vehicle around or keep going.
I love it. This came together a lot better than I thought. I thought it was going to be a failure. It was going to be a
Who
whole
knew? This guy was deep over here. Oh, by the way, I just looked up my Etsy orders for the last 7 days.
Yeah,
I've only had 41 orders, not 60. So
well,
that makes you feel better.
First one was Instagram reality, and it was reality, and then after the fees and everything, that's actual reality.
Yeah, it's not as good as it appears, but
like
I said, I'm comfortable.
Yeah, and that's something we're striving to do too. Is we want to be a lot more transparent because we realize like there's this whole like
I'm an open book.
We're both an open book, but like we really want to lay it out there. And last week when we really talked about like we kind of broke the fourth wall with Chris, and we talked about a lot of the downs of owning a business. And
there's a lot of downs.
Such good feedback about the downs because people can relate to it. We all deal with it, guys. Yeah.
And I will continue to say this until I am in my grave. The worst days of working for myself are still better than the best days of working for somebody else.
Right on.
But there are a lot of downs to this. There are a lot of downs, but this is like nature. It's like physics. Everything that goes up must come down. It's like a roller coaster. There are hills and valleys. So you just gotta learn to ride the wave, baby.
Yep. That's it. Well, we should jump into our questions. We got two questions, or a question and a rebuttal. So we'll start with the Jake Miller. Well, first we're gonna play this.
Go Black Betty, Ram Lamb.
And then we're gonna go to Jake Miller.
What's up, guys? It's Jake from the Sweet Shop, and calling in with a little bit of a comment based on this week's show topic. So for myself, I'm in a little bit of a different situation than a lot of other woodworkers and probably a lot of your listeners. But my wife and I, our full-time job and our sole income is based off of what our business does on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So from my standpoint, I have the outlook of things where failure is not an option. Mistakes can happen. Learning lessons will pop up. There'll be, things that I have to reach out to you guys or another maker in the community. Things that I'll have to watch a YouTube video on trying to figure out. Just trying to, push through and get this job done and work on to the next one. But as far as failure is concerned, from my standpoint, it can't happen. So I would say that, for the majority of the listeners out there, kind of take to a certain degree the same approach. The idea of, or the overall idea of failing isn't something that should be a thought process in your mind. If you take on a job, figure out a way to get it done and figure out a way to make it happen. Even if it pushes you out of your comfort zone. So anyways, that's all. I know this was a long one, guys. Yeah, thanks.
Good stuff. So Jake brings up some good points of even if you're not necessarily running your business as a full-time business, let's say for me, I have a full-time job. I don't need my side business to be my full income. I'd like it to be. I'd like it to double it, and eventually I hope it will. But you got to shift your mindset sometimes, depending on how you want to run it. And for him, it literally is putting food on the table. Him and Charity are working full time in his business, and that's what's feeding the family. So there is no failure. And now, again, you're still allowed to fail, but you got to think about how you word everything and what you call everything. Because failures are just learning lessons learned or whatever. But at the end of the day, what's your progress along the whole road? Dan, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do actually. Let me start by saying this. Jake, I love you. You know that. I've had many drinks with you at Workbench Con and stayed up very late with you and hung out, and I hope to continue to do so after this. But I disagree wholeheartedly with your sentiment. Failure, my friend, is always an option. Failure is always on the table. It's not something you can just ignore. Failure can happen whether you like it or not. It really depends on how you act in that situation, on how you're going to be in business. I mean, let's say you make a piece wrong, that's a failure. How are you gonna rectify that situation? Are you going to just ignore it and leave it be, or are you going to take it back and rework it and do it right? Failure is always an option, and failure is an opportunity, like we talked about, to learn and grow and do better for next time. So I don't know. Like I said, I disagree. I understand where you're coming from, Jake. I really do, because I do this full time as well. And failures suck. Failures, not only do they feel bad, but they hurt the bank account. And when you're trying to provide for your family doing this and you make a mistake, that just takes away from the food you put on the table or the mortgage that you pay to keep the roof over your head. But you can't go through this and pretend like failure is not going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. So you just have to have a mindset of, okay, how are we going to proceed? How are we going to fix this? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Dan,
Hope so.
I think you, in a way, you actually agree with him. What you don't agree with is
the wording, maybe?
Wording.
Yeah.
When he calls a failure, and we set this up because we talked about dealing with failure. What he calls a failure is basically stopping, quitting.
Oh yeah, don't
Giving
quit.
up is failure.
Failure is quitting. Absolutely.
Failure is quitting. Failure is being done with all of this. Like,
Okay, I agree with
failure.
that. I agree with that.
So-
Maybe we're getting minced in our wording here.
But I'm glad you said that, because I said the same thing about like rephrasing the what failure is. Like, failure is a
Yeah.
learning opportunities. Like,
Failure
Jake,
is
much like us, has
throwing
failed.
in the towel and just walking away, like I did
And
with the big oak door. I'm not
I've
super
never
proud of
seen
it, but I
Jake
feel
do that.
like it was necessary in that situation.
But that's not a failure. That's just like a stop to that
I disagree. I believe that was a failure on my part.
learning opportunity.
It was a massive learning opportunity, but it was a bit of a
Massive
failure
learning
too.
opportunity. My
because
bank
Dan
account learned a
lost-
lot.
Dan lost a bit of money. Yeah.
But no,
Okay.
it's true. But no, but Jake, I do
I think
get
you're right.
what he's getting at, and it's
I think you're
failure
right.
is not an option, but I think it's just like stopping this is not an option, because like Jake's
Yeah.
never going to go to a regular job again. Neither are you, and eventually,
No.
when I go full time, I never will again. It's just like once you're in that mindset, you can.
And if you're listening to this 5 years from now, and I'm working at Menards, just know that I'm doing it for the discount,
For the
family
benefits.
discount.
for the dental. And Jake, I know what you're doing, man. You're freaking crushing it, and I don't care
Oh yeah,
how
Jake is killing it.
how bad
not
you
following
feel like your
Jake-
month is, dude. You're
If you're not
killing it.
following Jake, you have no idea. Jake does amazing work, and he's pumping out stuff constantly. So
No, Jake's stuff it's worthless. Follow charity, a sweet idea.
a sweet
Which is
idea,
the-
sweet SUITE.
So yep, exactly. It's the pretty version of a sweet shop. Yeah, Jake's okay too. All right, follow him too. A sweet shop and
Do we
a sweet
have
idea.
do we have a phone message from?
We have one from some guy in France.
One
So I guess we'll
French
play it.
variety.
I don't know. Dude, let me run it through Google Translate.
Can you hear my voice this time? This is my
French.
song.
Hey guys,
Thomas.
the topic for tonight is dealing with failure. So I'll tell you how I deal with myself. I just eat. That's why I'm a bit overweighted.
Same.
Anyway, I just finished a console of sort. Pete, you've seen it in my story, and for that I used melamine boards. It looks alright, but where I made the cut, the melamine layer ripped a little bit, and it doesn't look perfect. Do you have any idea, tips, technique, secret sauce to help camouflage the carnage? Bye!
You go first.
So first of all, Dan and I can very much relate to dealing with failure. We also eat. We eat and
one of
drink
my
beer.
favorite.
That's like
One of my
our
favorites.
thing. Yeah. Where you eat like cheese and have fine wine, like Dan and I would just like cheese curds and beer.
Enchiladas.
Yeah, those are enchiladas. Yeah. So I totally get that, because when I get stressed and I fail a lot, I put on weight. It's
Oh,
like a
dude.
thing.
I don't
Let's
even want
be
to
real.
talk about it.
And Thomas, I did see the console you built, and yeah, he's working out of like melamine board. He's doing it on purpose to try to match some IKEA furniture that he had. He was
I
making
saw
a
that.
custom top for that. Yeah, not just Thomas, not just me. Dan follows you too. You're kind of a big
Yeah,
deal.
I saw it.
Yeah, you're big in America on this
I didn't-
podcast.
I didn't like it or anything, but I
It's
saw
fine.
It.
You saw it with your eyeballs.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, melamine as well as like plywood and stuff, if you're going against, especially with plywood, if you're going against the grain and cutting on a table saw,
Is
or
there really
whatever,
grain on melamine though?
well, not on melamine,
not.
but on plywood you can actually
Right.
get grain, whatever. Anytime you can pre-tape it and like really
Right.
like you run your nail or some kind of like flat, I don't know, chisel along the top of it or something.
Reiterate what his problem was. He's
So
cutting melamine and he was getting chip
tear
out.
tear
Tear
out.
out?
Yeah, exactly. So like, especially with melamine, you want to do some kind of top layer tape. Works great.
Yeah, painter's tape.
I've honestly
great.
like, I have this like not 16th inch, like it's sub 8th inch. It's basically like Luan, or like it's not really meant for the laser because it's actually too thin for the laser. It actually will cup when you cut it. But like people use as backer boards. You can get it at like usually lumber yards. Really thin, like sub 8th inch stuff. Probably I would say 1 mil. You can almost make like if you're using a circular saw or table saw, you would like tape it to the top of it. If you're using a track saw, it's gonna be great for the show side, but the bottom side might get some tear out. So like, it's kind of a never-ending battle with sheet goods, unfortunately, I feel like. But tape of some kind thoroughly adhered to the top, especially with melamine, because melamine is not dead flat. It's kind of like, I don't want it's bumpy. I don't know. It's got a texture to it. So you really want to take your nail or something and like really get it in a grooves. And if you make a cut across that, when you peel away the tape, peel away from the cut. So away from the material piece, because then you're not going to be peeling straight up. You're peeling away, and you're not going to get peel up of the excess material. That's my one big technique. Or if you're working with sheet goods, pre-finishing also helps, because it helps to keep the grain down. So pre-finishing helps. But if you're working with melamine, tape or some kind of material underneath, I don't know. Dan, any suggestions?
Yeah, actually, I worked in a big woodworking factory where we cut a lot of melamine and stuff of that nature. And when we did so, we used a saw that had a scoring blade.
Ooh.
Now, I realize you probably don't have a scoring blade on your saw. Basically, it's a scoring blade is a saw that a blade that comes on the underside and it runs backwards compared to the other saw blade, the main saw blade, and it scores a line so that it doesn't rip out the fibers from a piece of plywood or the melamine from a piece of 3/4 inch melamine. What is that? It starts with an F. Formica. Formica.
Yeah. Which actually, Dan, that's a really good point, because
I was gonna compound on that. Yeah,
please go on.
If you're working in a big cabinet shop, that's what they use. Now you can do that on your own. Obviously, you could score it first with your saw, or you could take and score it with a utility knife. But then you got to get the line perfectly lined up. So Pete actually, come up with a very good solution. A good quality painter's tape put on place of where your line's going to be will hold the fibers together. Basically, what's happening is your fibers are ripping and not cutting, and that's what creates the crappy chip out or the fibrous tears on the underside of a good quality plywood or whatever. So what you want to do is hold those fibers together as good as possible instead of them tearing. They're held together a little bit better so they can cut. So a good quality tape will work there. You can pre-finish, that will work. Yeah, that's basically it. I just feel like I rambled there.
Dan, you're brilliant. Here's why.
I've been around the block.
We've all done, let's say you're using a miter saw, right? Get your miter saw dialed in, and you do that first cut to you just kiss the piece of wood. It's
kind of a score.
And scoring cut. But we don't tend to do that on a table saw. That's actually kind of brilliant. We've all known about the special saws that have the little pre-cut thing.
That's why marking knives are so great, because not only do they mark where your line's going to be, but it will pre-break the fibers. Yes,
exactly. So that's actually a great idea, is you're just kissing the top of that melamine to not break it, or plywood, whatever it might be. Because keep in mind, and I used to teach this all the time with the woodworking class.
But if you don't want to do all that, just use a good quality tape, like you said.
Yeah. Well, why don't you set the blade to 2.5 inches full extension height when you're just making a pass through the piece of wood? It's not just for safety, so you only expose a little bit of it. But the other thing is, when your blade is cutting deep into your piece of wood, it's going up into your piece of wood and across it, and then down, and that's where the tear out occurs. When if you lift up your blade, let's say, I'll put it in French, 5 millimeters, right? It's going at an aggressive angle into the wood and immediately out of that piece of wood. So it's at an angle. You're not going straight up and then down to tear out those fibers. So you're getting an angle cut in there, and you're going to get a much cleaner cut. So Dan is actually quite brilliant for a Nebraska educated individual.
Iowa educated, to be fair. I moved to Nebraska when I was 30.
Yeah, the stakes were much higher there. But do a quick little pass through, whether you use a track saw or something else. Do a quick pass through, get a clean cut, and then do a full pass after that. It's actually brilliant, Dan. Look at you, falling upwards.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm actually because like I learned something right now. Like I never really thought of it on a table saw as much as I did on a miter saw.
Yeah,
So-
those big cabinet shops. I
Big
used
cut.
a saw that had a inline scoring blade, and I know that you can get like those sliding table saws from like Felder or whatever.
But who can afford it?
Yeah, I mean they're crazy expensive, but they generally come with a scoring blade for that reason.
Sliding compound job site saw. Yeah.
You know, the one I think Dusty from Dusty
Yeah.
Woodco has one.
Well, like
A big giant slider.
Harvey makes that really nice slider
Yeah.
for the
And I'm
saw
pretty
stock.
sure, I don't know about the Harvey one, but I'm pretty sure the one Dusty has a scoring blade on it.
Well, his is the one where the actual like where the blade goes, the entire left side of the table slides.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Where, yeah. Whereas most of the add-on sliders are like you still have that like 8 inches of cast iron, and then you have the slider wing, whatever. But good idea, Dan. I learned something new from you. You know what?
I
I
have
don't care what they say.
bits of knowledge here and there.
Yeah,
I've been around the block.
You got some little bits of knowledge.
Crazy.
Free ad for them there. But I think that's all our questions, Dan.
Is that it?
That
I
is-
mean, we're in an hour 20 and it's just you and I shooting the breeze.
I'm shooketh that we lasted this long.
I know. I'm tiredeth.
Could be the meat sweats and
It
all
could be the meat
beers you
sweats
drank.
and the lack of breathing while sleeping at night and all sorts of things.
But I'm not gonna lie, I kind of loved this topic, and I'm glad we
It
touched
was a good
on
topic. Good job. Good idea.
it. You thought
Pete's
of it.
Pete's the topic guy. I'm just the pretty
I
face.
sent you a list, and you said that one, and that was.
Well, I
it.
mean,
So-
you
so
came
it's
up
on
with
you.
it. I just pointed that one.
What if I just chat GPT'd that thing?
Good job, Chat GPT. Well
I
done.
didn't. It was me. It was all me. Polish Pete.
We're gonna have a Polish episode in about 3 weeks. It's gonna be all in Polish, by the way.
Was Bart Comer on that I didn't know about?
I need to call him.
Yeah, but who's on next week, John? John.
Whoa!
Dan. Sorry.
Who's on next week? Let me tell you, it's Justin Davies. If you're not familiar with Justin Davies,
Not even a John. I don't know where John came from.
I don't either, but we're gonna move past it. It's Justin Davies. You're not familiar with his work. He blew up on TikTok over the pandemic with his map of the states of the state
The
official
American
trees.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, he scroll sawed each state by hand of each state's official state tree, and it turned into this like whole big thing. He's got like 3 million followers on TikTok. He does really well on Instagram as well. I'm excited to have him on. He seems like a plethora of knowledge, and I'm excited to talk to him because if you watched any of his videos, not only did he just do the state's trees, but he was dropping knowledge about the specific trees each time he made a video, and it was super fascinating and it was gripping. So I'm
That's
excited.
what I really enjoy about it. The monologuing and the actual knowledge he's dropping in there.
He's
and
got
he's one of those
an
guys that I
immense
just
amount of
enjoy. Like
knowledge.
the voiceover. It's just solid work.
yeah.
Really
So
like
it should be a good episode. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Hopefully,
And he's a
remember
guy. He's a guy
Yes.
I invited on. So
Dan wins.
please be good. Anyway,
And
yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
super stoked. And then, of course, just a reminder to our patrons. All levels of patrons are going to be invited to our patron-only call. Now, this
First
is gonna be-
ever.
Yep. We're going to be doing probably a yearly all-inclusive one. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But
We'll figure it out.
going
We'll
forward,
see how
it'll
this first
be
one goes before we.
some of the higher tiers. So, just kind of like this is a teaser. First one's free, First bump.
Bring your chiladas and
Bring your chiladas.
boxer shorts. We're
Bring your
getting
Zimas.
down.
So, yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys.
This was a good episode.
This was
Fun.
good. I did enjoy this.
Well done, Pete.
Thank you, no one, for joining us. You were great.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate
Where
it.
can they find you? That's great.
Over
awesome.
there. Yeah.
Cool. Over yonder.
Oh, this is really awkward. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate everybody who listens. Please be sure to share the show. That always helps. Leave us reviews, yada, yada. You know the drill. Thanks to all our patrons. You know who you are, especially
You know
people
who.
that go above and beyond. We appreciate everybody.
You know
See you next week.
Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Love you long time.